Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So many of us are dealing with challenging situations now, but anxiety has escalated. And I don't know if it's a byproduct of COVID. Maybe some believe it is, that we were dealing with one thing and now we're pivoting back to our sort of normal lives. But it's a challenge, and there's something that can be done. No meds, and not even a doctor visit. Nothing wrong with either of those. I'm talking about sound healing. Yes, it actually works. It's been working for literally centuries. And she heals and helps people all the time with anxiety and lots of other challenges as well. Barb Sounds is back with us. Hey, Barb, how are you?
Good. I'm good. How about you?
I'm well. Yeah. And this is
Good.
Sound healing. We've talked about it before, that it can help people with so many different challenges. We're going to center on anxiety today. And in just a few minutes, you're going to play some music or sounds, however you want to look at it, that can help with anxiety. Let's go back to the basics for anybody that doesn't understand how this works. When you play certain sounds or we hear certain sounds, the vibrations help heal us. How does it work? Is it the energy? What's going on there?
Well, basically everything is made up of energy, like our bodies, our cells. Our mind is a certain kind of energy too, because it's physically happening in our brain. And everything in the world all around us and even in the cosmos is all made up of energy. And there are some laws of quantum physics, oddly enough, for sound healing, which is often thought of as a kind of strange, weird new age kind of thing. But there are some laws in quantum physics that say if there's two things vibrating that are close together, the one with the most powerful, not necessarily the loudest, but the one with the most powerful vibration will pull the vibration of the other thing towards its own. And so what happens with our bodies and our minds and our thoughts and our feelings, all of which are vibration, if we're around, if there's a sort of there's a regular range that our body should be vibrating in, and our mind as well. But sometimes if we're around a toxic environment, a very noisy environment like construction, toxic people, all those kinds of things, people who are really upset. And right now, actually, I mean, everybody is anxious. And so we're all just making each other even more anxious because there's like a big kind of global anxiety that's happening, and we're all tapped into that because we're all connected to each other. Doesn't matter where we are, and we're connected to beings and things like even, not on the earth. So what happens with sound healing is I play harmonic instruments, and the vibrations of the harmonic instruments are very, very, very powerful. Even the small chimes, which are, kind of sound like fairies. I call them fairy chimes, but even those can entrain our cells and our body, and therefore our body and our mind. And so what happens when I'm playing, no matter what I'm sort of playing for, and no matter what you want to let go of or to have heal, it's basically puts our body in a state of deep relaxation. And it puts our mind into the delta theta waves that people meditate for 25 years to try to get to. So in that deep stillness and relaxation of both the body and the mind is where the healing occurs. And we can't heal with our minds or with anything else. I mean, really, it's our bodies that have to heal. That's where all healing happens, is in our body. There's a saying, only the body can heal. And that's really important in sound healing, because if the instruments can relax your body enough and your mind so that you're in that kind of really still, beautiful space, no matter what's going on in your life, whatever you've set an intention for, whatever you've decided that, my question though is to people is, especially in an individual session, is what are you ready to let go of?
Do you feel that we all have something to let go of, and that is why many of us have trouble healing?
Yes.
I heard that today. Somebody else said that. And
really?
yes, it was a talked to a Reiki practitioner, and she
Mhm.
said that her first experience with Reiki, and this is going back 25 years, and she wasn't a Reiki master then. She
Mhm.
became one after this helped her life. But bottom line here is she went for a Reiki session. Somebody just said, "You look horrible. Try this." She did. The Reiki practitioner said, "You're angry. I know. Yeah, I can tell you're angry. Let go of that. You need to." And she was right, the practitioner, and this person did. And after Reiki the next day, and we're, Reiki, similar to sound in that it's energy healing. And she was healed
Yep.
the next day from a lot of
Yeah.
different challenges. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And we might not even know what we're hanging on to, right? We might not even know.
No, a lot of it's subconscious. A lot of it's
Sure.
things that we have thought that we've gotten rid of. And I think one of the critical things for people is that we all feel like, the bad feelings and the bad thoughts and bad experiences in our own definition. We want to just get rid of those,
Mm,
especially all the memory ones, the ones from our childhood and the ones from previous relationships and jobs and well, on and on and on it goes. And we feel like we should be able to eradicate that. And we can never get rid of any of that stuff, like not completely,
sure.
but getting rid of something and eradicating it. Like, so, I mean, if she was healed from her anger, that's awesome. And that means that her level of anger went way, way down. It doesn't mean that at a certain point in the future, she's not going to be angry again.
Yeah.
Right. But then we have ways of, being able to deal with that. And so that's why I ask people, like, not, sort of what do you want to get rid of? Right? What would you rather not have? Because none of us would like to have anger and, sadness and,
Mm,
anxiety and depression and all those things, or physical, illnesses and all the things that happen in our bodies. But it's what we want to let go of. And it's not actually what we want to let go of. It's what we're ready to. Because I might want to let go of certain things that happened in my childhood, let's say, because they're always popping up, and I'm always getting thrown back to some of those. That happens to all of us, no matter how good or bad our childhood was. And I still find myself wanting to just get rid of it. But if I'm not ready to let go of it, that's when it keeps coming back. So if you're
mm,
angry all the time, you may want to not be angry, but if you're not ready to let go of the anger, like to just let it come and pass through you, right? Then you're going to be hanging out with anger all the time.
mm.
And we're all hanging out with anxiety for whatever reason. I mean, I think I'm an empath, so I can feel energy. And right now it's absolutely crazy. The energy, how much anxiety there is on a global, even children are like being affected by it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's mental health crises all over
Yeah.
for different age categories, especially teen girls. You said something that it makes total sense, but it was never a thought, and that the collectiveness of a situation, like anxiety,
Mhm.
in terms of the vibration, there's so many people that are dealing with anxiety, it amps the level up because all of that energy is around us. So, we might have a little bit of anxiety, but everybody else has it. Now it multiplies it.
Yeah. When anxiety is a little bit like air, like if you think of, like, I mean, we're surrounded by air. We live in air. We breathe air into our bodies. We let air out of our bodies, but we can't see it.
Hmm.
We can't feel it.
Right.
We can't know if it's there, but it is. It's always, always there. And I think that's similar to
Yeah.
that's how we get affected by the anxiety that everybody's feeling, because I can't necessarily see your anxiety. I could not see you for weeks and weeks and weeks, but if you're anxious, it's affecting everybody else around you.
Yeah. And that's
you
what
know
we talk about, the vibration. You're going to play some vibrations in
hmm
a moment to help people with anxiety, but we send vibrations just from our energy itself. So you
yeah
might be sending out that vibration of anxiety, which sets other anxiety off. We don't even know we're doing it.
yeah
Um,
yeah
I'm thinking we should start.
yeah
Yeah, because we always do this, and then we joke
I
about
know.
it because we talk, and then there's like no time for you to play. But we'll come
Yeah.
back. And by the way, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. if you want to comment on anything we're talking about here,
Sure.
and also what you're feeling, after hearing some of the sounds that Barb is going to provide us with. What's your takeaway? We'd love to hear it.
Good. Okay. I'm just going to change my camera. Whoops.
Mhm.
So that people can see the studio. Whoops. I turned my video off. Sorry about that. And change my mics. Okay. So I invite you all, everyone who's listening and who will be listening to the replay, to take a few deep breaths. Take 3 deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And when you take a deep breath in and then you're releasing it, you can make a noise like that. You can just kind of like a ha. And that actually is when you're breathing in, you're gathering all of your energy together that's in your body. And when you go ha on the out breath, that can let go of just some of the stress and anxiety that you have. It's a really good thing. You can do it pretty much anywhere. Okay, so now it's time to relax and listen to the sounds.
I don't see how that could not help somebody with anxiety. It's just so relaxing. And even the little nuances really make a difference.
Yeah.
Like you can feel it. You almost listen. And I try not to look at your studio. I turn my head. I actually took my headphones off and I put the
Hmm.
speakers up in the studio here so that I could not analyze what you're doing, but just enjoy what was coming my way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, I don't mind if people watch me playing. Some people are like really curious. Usually if people watch me playing in a sound bath that's, half an hour or an hour long,
Sure.
they kind of, they get really relaxed and their eyes close.
I just want to
Anyway,
tell
even
you,
if,
switch back to your other mic. Yeah.
oh,
You're on the
there
mics
we
in the
go.
studio. There we go. There we go.
I switched the video, but I forgot to switch the
Yeah, no
audio.
worries. I still heard you. It was
Yeah, I
it
just
was
had
good.
them farther away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but watching, I encourage people to close her eyes, because, our eyes process some crazy huge number, like 60 million bits
Yeah.
of information per second or minute or something. But it keeps our brain busy. And so it stops our brain from actually relaxing and stops consequentially, our body as well. So closing your eyes is just like really, you get the the big result of it. And that was just, that was like 7 minutes that I just played. So imagine if I was playing for an hour
Hmm.
for you,
Wow.
or even half an hour,
Do
you know.
you do people tell you that they fall asleep while you're playing?
People don't, it doesn't feel like you're falling asleep, but people lose, um, people sometimes will say that they didn't hear most of the sounds. Like lots of times when
Hmm.
people at the end of a sound bath, and when I have regular clients, they have their favorite instruments, right? So say their favorite instrument was the Atlantis gong, which was the last one I played. And then, people will kind of come to at the end. I mean, nobody actually, when I stop playing, I usually, ring a little chime 3 times just so that people know that it's over. But I let
Hmm.
people just stay in that silence because it takes people a little bit of time to sort of come back, depending on where they went, whether it was like just I was completely out of it and I didn't even hear half the gongs. That's what people will say sometimes, or they'll like, be sort of like semi-angry with me and they'll say, "How come you didn't play the Atlantis gong and today?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I played the Atlantis gong like a
Ah,
lot." And they're like, "Well, I didn't hear it." And I'm like, "Okay, well, because you were so relaxed that you weren't, even hearing the sounds. You didn't even need to hear the sounds anymore."
you know what the immersion reminds me of? If you've ever jumped in the ocean and when you
Mm.
first, or even a pool, whatever, you first go in, and you're aware, wow, it's a little cold, feel a little bit of current. And once you're in there, especially if you go underwater for a minute, maybe not a minute, 30 seconds, 20, whatever, or if you're going snorkeling, you don't realize you're in water anymore. You're just there. You're in a different place. You're just kind of just floating. But when you first go in, and it's kind of the same when you start playing, I'm aware. Yeah. Oh, she's going over to that. She's playing the, that's the sound. After a while, it's just you're immersed with sound and the energy goes in. And
Yeah.
it's remarkable. We're just about out of time. How do we find you? And I know you do different types of sound healing. You do group, one-on-one. How do we find you? How do we schedule?
The best thing to do is to go to my scheduling site, and it has lots of information there on the different kinds of things that I do. So it's heal, as in healing, HEAL.me /Barb Sounds. So if you go to that in your web browser, you'll see, my section, and you can book. I had originally, when I put all that information in there, said that I was doing, a half-hour consult, and I decided that the best half-hour consult for what I do is a sound bath. So you can actually have a 30-minute sound bath with me for free if you book
Oh,
at
wow.
heal.me /Barb Sounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uh, Fantastic.
Yeah.
That is,
Forget talking about what you think is wrong with you and all that kind of stuff. You just come and I'll play for you for half an hour. I mean, and yes, of course, we can talk afterwards and
Sure.
that about what you want or how you felt. But yep, that's the
Yeah.
best. Yeah.
And we get a
do.
sample of, maybe, I would say it was about maybe like 7 minutes just now. Imagine a half hour, what you would feel like. How relaxing. Amazing. Barb, always great having you on here. Appreciate what you do. And there's a reason that they've been playing sounds and it's been impacting people in the same way, literally for centuries, many hundreds of years.
Thousands of years.
Thousands of years. Yes, because it works.
Yeah.
Works. Thanks again for being with us. Appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.